Thank you for staying with us. So, indeed, we do have plenty of tweets. I have to read this one. Michael Makinde says, with regards to electricity, our problems are capital, mismanagement, and government policy as to the sources of energy. We need to privatize and allow the members of the public to buy shares to raise capital. That's coming from Michael. Sandra says, our billing in electricity forced me to get a prepaid meter. The fraud on Nigerians is Mado. That's coming from Sandra. Okay.
Get prepaid meter and you have peace. You pay for what you use.
Some level of peace.
Well, if the power is made available.
When the power enters, then anyway. So you're hearing some voices already.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not. It's not that it is cheaper. It's just that you pay for what you consume.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are hearing some voices, you're not seeing them because they have not really been officially introduced. So they are they're called the Unuedo Renaissance. They are the professionals from Edo State. We'll be chatting with them as regards all the, the atmosphere the weather in Edo State. We'll talk to them about the weather in Edo State. We have here in the studio Mr. George Etomi, founding partner, George Etomi and Partners, and a founding member of the Unuedo Renaissance. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Also here is Joyce Daniels, daughter of Edo State, a public speaking coach as well. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start with you.
Yes.
Say ladies first.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take it.
Let's start with you. You're the younger generation.
These days, I don't feel that way anymore. Now that I have an 18-year-old son, I don't feel like I'm of the younger generation anymore.
But if you're going to say that,
I am still exactly the younger generation.
Okay,
yes.
so you're hearing all the things going on in Edo State and the socio-political atmosphere there. What would you say? What's your take?
I grew up very proud of my Edo roots, my Bendel roots. We were taught to be, and it was true, we're very intelligent, enterprising. We've always been super proud of our heritage. What's happening right now is disappointing to me. It's annoying to me. I think it will deter us from the important things that we ought to be growing towards. For example, education and economic development. We're trying to find better, faster ways to get things done. This is an unnecessary distraction that I am personally very angry about, and that's how I feel.
In other words, the politicians are a distraction.
The way the politics is being done is a distraction. Politicians are part of our being. We are all politicians. How you get married, how you choose your spouse is politics. How you choose the schools your children attend is politics. But the way the politics is being done is the distraction. That's how I feel.
Okay.
And you're not happy about that?
I'm not happy about it at all.
Mr. Etomi, you're considered a successful man from Edo State. But when you assess that entire situation, how do you feel?
Well, taking off from from what Joyce said, I am disappointed too. And that is because you need to understand the dynamics playing out in Edo State today. For those of us whose parents were the forebears when the then Midwest region was created, and created in a manner in which we were left like orphans to fend for ourselves, whose forebears identified the power of education, civility, and good living as what should be the trademark, the hallmark of the average Edo citizen. What we see today is a travesty, but we're not giving up, because what's going on today is about the Edo nation. And we will not allow anybody come and give us a name that's not ours, try to redefine who we are. The roots are solid. Now, to be particular, if I have time to espouse this, When in 1999, there was the return to civilian rule, a number of us Edo professionals who were disappointed with military rule like everybody else. We thought military rule was an aberration. Okay, civilian politics has come back. So we formed ourselves into a group, and we told ourselves that we will make our collective intellect available to any government by way of helping them formulate policies, give advice at our cost, nothing. And we spent sleepless hours. Incidentally, Governor Obaseki was one of the founding members of this group. And that was what we were doing. We engaged with H.E. Lucky Benedon's government at the time. Now, the results were mixed. Sometimes we got the traction we thought we could get, but many times we didn't get it. So we returned a bit frustrated, but we never gave up. But unfortunately, politics then went the way it did. And then suddenly this Godfather syndrome emerged from nowhere. And like I don't know how to describe it, like something similar to what you find in the George Floyd thing, somebody on knees on the neck, and those citizens felt they were being strangled. And you need to know what is going on to see why many of us are passionate.
But the question would be, what is the conflict about?
That's what I'm telling you. That's the story that's developing. There is a history to this. Now, many of us couldn't sit back and watch this happen. And at that time, we said, look, Edo has never been godfathered. We are very independent people. We respect tradition. We respect authority and all that, but we've never been dictated to. Because you must win me over with superior argument. And then we now get to a point where our voices don't count. People speak for us and not speak about who we are. So we said no. So a number of us came together and said, you know something, we must play our own part to dismantle this godfatherism. This was the reason we identified Adams Oshomole. Because, give him credit, he has the verve in him and all that. And we just thought we could properly direct it. And he did a good job doing that. We dismantled godfatherism. And for that time, we said, no, don't take your eyes off the ball. So Gordon Obaseki offered to go and became the head of the economic team, 8 years pro bono. And what we were doing at that time was to direct policies. You know, one of the key things that's killing not just Edo State, but many states, is this FAC allocation. Every politics is around what's coming from the center. Nobody thinks about growing something outside of government. Yeah. So we identified at that time that we needed to create an alternative economy. What is the secret to Lagos' success? The private economy is much bigger than government economy. So they can survive the kind of politics they play here, but not for Edo State. Now, we did that successfully. And even Oshomole himself identified that, look, for this to be consolidated, he was going to ensure that somebody who could carry the message on got into office. And don't take my word for it. All the clips are there for all the virtues he extolled about a man he worked with so closely for 8 years. So what went wrong? Why are we now suddenly where we are today? The same person? Go, the records speak. Why do you think Edo is behind him today? It's on the records. If it's about money, Edo State has never had money. And about him personally, you need to know him. He's a stingy person. He's my friend. He won't give money to anybody. And even when friends come to me to do something, he said, George, you can do it too, but my policy here is PSS. I said, what's PSS? Pay small. So, you notice the argument. Nobody is saying he chopped anybody's money.
No.
Nobody is saying he is not performing. So how do you then use your own hands to dismantle the winning team? You know, as I said, it's about your donation. And we will work with any vehicle that restores that pride and dignity of the Edo man.
It's about the Edo people, Joyce. And this conflict, the Edo people are the ones who are suffering right now. And I'm sure that what's first on your minds is how to settle this conflict, how to sort it out for the benefit of the Edo people. So, what are your suggestions as to how this conflict can be resolved?
My suggestion is very
just one.
simple.
Okay.
Defend her unity and uphold her honor and glory.
So help us all, God.
Above personal interests and above party interests. Is it easy to do? No. But the person who does it comes out on top. If the leader of the Edo polity, Adams Oshomole, will put Edo before
First.
party, we will be all right. And if Gordon Obaseki and all other players come together and, as it were, kiss and make up, give the virtual hug and the handshakes, we will be fine. How easy will that be to do? That's the next question.
But you see, when you say this thing, the names you mentioned, they are of that generation.
Yes.
But behind them
Yes.
are people of this generation
Yes.
who appear to be fueling what's happening in that generation.
Yes.
How would that play out?
You know, some people are confused. Some are only doing what they've always known, not allowing what he said, superior reasoning to prevail. Some are scared. Some are just going with the flow. Anything they say, make we just they do. Keep quiet.
Some are just
But
looking for something
Some
on
are
the
just
table.
looking for something. So where the economy is better for everyone, and we all know how to generate funds and monies for ourselves, and are not dependent on stipends from government or other people, we begin to think better. Which is one of the reasons why I believe the Edu Professionals has grown this far. He's successful by himself. I am successful by myself. I don't need to get your money. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is principles and morals. Full stop. Some people have, you know, the number of times I have heard Nigeria is not good, Nigeria no good, Nigeria no good. I could have believed it by now. I should have believed it by now, but I refused since I was 8 years old. I will not believe it. Because I was standing under the sun, they were teaching us Ikosisikeleni Africa, about a man who had just been released from prison somewhere after he had been there for 20-something years fighting for his country. And all I was thinking about was, if he could fight for his, why won't I fight for mine? I was 8. And I stuck with it, but how many are like me? I know some people who have said, you know what, it's enough, I beg, we're tired of fighting, I beg, we'll follow them. If you can't beat them,
check out.
Join them. So that's what's happening to some people of my generation. They have just gone with the flow. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, to speak up. This wasn't planned. I reached out to George yesterday from nowhere, and I said, Uncle, I want to get on channels or somewhere. I need to speak out. I'm too concerned, too intelligent, too enlightened to still be silent. And there are many like me. We're just here to speak. Now, some young person is here.
Thank you for staying with us. We still have people tweeting about the power thing. People can never get tired of talking about power.
We can talk about it till tomorrow.
But right now we're talking about Edo. Mr. Tommy, this matter in Edo, preparations for the elections, particularly you being a lawyer, the governor was disqualified from running on the platform of the party that brought him in. Was it merited? If you wanted to look at it from even at that, what do the laws have to say about that kind of situation?
Well, it's a party's prerogative who they choose. But, and I heard the party quote the Supreme Court's ruling. It was an obiter by Body Roots Vival, JSC. But nothing he said there says that you can breach the rules of fair hearing, enshrined in the Constitution and the principles of natural justice, equity, and good conscience. The least you can do is not be a judge in your own cause. You recuse yourself. So if he had wanted to pursue it along those lines, he would have had a good case. But then I think he came to the conclusion that it was going to be misdirected energy. Because once you do that, you forget what the focus is, which is the people. The people require direction at this point. COVID-19 is a reset button. And you know what it has done? It has ensured that your oil flow isn't there, which means your FAC allocation over which we're all dying is going to be reduced. And the last one now is now gone to the 500s, from the 800s, 700. So you need to think outside the box. How am I going to grow this economy? And that's what Godwin Obaseki has been doing since he got there. It's been first education, like I told you. And look at, I'm sure you've heard of the Edo Best program. Do you know long before e-learning became fashionable, Edo Best was doing it at the primary school level. Dr. John Oviawe, who anchors it, has created this revolution. And that is why it's going to be so difficult to dislodge him, because parents are seeing the difference in the children who've benefited from it over the last 2 years and those, their older siblings, within the same house.
In
As
fact,
I said, the difference is clear.
In fact, is
And
it
let me tell you,
true?
Is
Is it true what we hear, that people are withdrawing their children from private schools and putting them in public schools in Edo?
I was just going to say that. Yes, it is true. Absolutely true. Because he has kept the cost of education down, quality high. All schools are wired up with internet. All teachers have tablets. Students, children are actually singing when they're leaving the house. When did that last happen? It was only nowadays. You look forward to going to school. Because school, before now, in Edo State, meant a breeding ground for ruffians. And that's why the same family, like I told you, there are parents with 4 children, some in primary 4, primary 5, struggling with their numbers. And then your primary 1 and 2 siblings are reading 100, 1 to 100 backward and everything, and taking the computers and do what they're doing. Even for the parents, it's there for them to see. They're not going to allow any disruption. Now, I told you that you have to create an alternative economy. So we had started working on the privatization laws in Edo State, which was headed by the deputy governor, and I must pay tribute to him. And I'll tell you why in a second. Because I was in that group as a volunteer, so with people like Olu Akpata and all, some of us from the private sector, and we're looking at the laws to encourage privatization so you can begin to attract business, so you can build an alternative economy. The chair was the deputy governor.
Is he also a lawyer?
No, he's not a lawyer.
Okay.
Comrade Chwaibu. And then this problem of Edo State is just such a distraction. So in one of the meetings we went for, his colleagues, he used to be in the National Assembly, his colleagues came to see him, trying to convince him to ditch the governor. And he told them, no, this man he means well for the state. He's doing well. I work with him on a daily basis. I'm not telling you stories. Because our meeting was delayed, and when he came back, that's what he told Olu Akpata and I. He said, I told them to just forget this thing. Let us put our hands together. That's very instructive, and my respect for that man went up through the roof. Why am I bothering to tell you all of these things? Okay, look at COVID. Do you know what the governor did? He set up a COVID response team, and everybody, private sector, came in. My heart goes today to Pastor Etomi Ighodalo, who just lost his wife, as you know. He was one of the anchors of the project. All of us from Edo are in. We've engaged the younger members of our generation. For example, in my family, we formed the Edo COVID committee, the Etomi COVID committee for Edo. And other families have done that, yes. If we don't take ownership of development, who will? We must direct the younger ones. And that's what Obaseki represents.
So
I was just going to say, across the board, from the older generation, here the comments about him, to these primary school students, there's an alignment of thoughts about the fact that he means well.
But let me bring this before you as you come in. Ellie says, I'm an Edo indigene, and I'm sure we would not teach our children to behave the way the adults have done. He says, we need to understand that progress without character is no progress. The governor has not shown character nor morals.
I was going to say that I don't know Obaseki. I've not met him before. Well, I've met him on stage whilst I was emceeing an event. That's all. A few years ago, I went home to my hometown and I saw there were no teachers in the government schools. Well, there were not enough teachers. They said teachers had not been hired in over 11 years and XYZ. So I started with myself. I started hiring teachers and paying teacher salaries. Got a few other friends who were Edo in my hometown, yes. And in fact, one school was from the hometown next to mine, or the village next to mine. And I got a few friends who were Edo or not Edo, who I knew could afford it. I said, it's just 20,000 a month, 22,000 a month, here and there. Until such a time when one of the principals called me to say, teachers are coming in now. We're seeing some improvement. So this person you brought, somebody, I was like, oh, something is going on. I don't know the man. I know what is happening. Full stop.
What
he's doing.
Is the
what he's doing.
Is the best program?
Uncle knows him. I don't know him. I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking for what is being done, the progress. And we want to be faceless. I want to remain a faceless person. I want to recognize what is done over who is doing it. That's what I was taught is the Edo way or the Bendel way. Do it regardless of who you're doing it for. Be your best regardless of who you are serving. Now, in terms of the governor showing character or no character, I will speak as someone who has watched, observed, and made decisions. If you want something done, you find a way to do it. As long as it remains moral and legal, do it.
But he says that it's not moral.
The character saying, oh, maybe he has moved from one party to the other. Now, I started asking questions for myself. Why was he disqualified and all of that? I've understood. And I can see how it plays out. Before he went in as governor initially, he couldn't find his certificates, which happens. We must come back to reality. Well, it's who we are. And he saw affidavits to say, I can't find them, but these are to show that I've been to school. But in the course of time, he found them and has said, these are the certificates. Here they are presented. That's what is bringing conflict. And saying, well, so is that out of character? Let me tell you, after university, I was working in a boutique whilst waiting for NYSC because I needed to work and be busy. I had my phone with a girl in front of my father's house making phone calls to give me some extra cash because I wasn't dependent on my parents anymore by choice. Now, one of the days I got a call from nowhere saying, Joyce, your name is on a list of people who came into school fraudulently. And I was like, me? How? So you're going to sit before a panel, and they published it in the dailies and put it around parts of the school. It was horrifying. But I went there, I sat there, I faced the panel, and we were all treated as guilty from the moment hey, sit down there, all of you that want to come in. I was weeping because I'm strong, I didn't want to cry physically, but in my heart I was completely broken until we opened all the documents and realized indeed there was an error. My original identity number was maybe 172. But when somebody typed it out at my secondary school, which was a federal government girls' school, they typed 171. And I didn't notice. So there was a discrepancy. But when we brought all the originals, it was like, okay, it was a simple typographical error. You're free to go. The correction had been made. I asked a question on my way out. Are we going to still publish in the papers that I have been released? And they said, get out. Do you know how much it costs? So I went to Professor Nimi Briggs, who was then the immediate past vice chancellor. And I said, sir, it's unfair. I was published all over as being fraudulent.
And disgraced.
And now it should be, he said, the school, the cost, and this and that. For me, who's been through such a situation, hearing this now, I'm like, we've seen it before. So what's out of character
What's
there?
new?
What's new?
Mr. Etomi, elections are around the corner.
Sure.
You've said, both of you have said here, what's at stake is Edo people, is Edo. But you see an Edo person here who's saying that the person that you're all saying is doing well hasn't shown character or morals. The question is, who has shown character or morals amongst all the people that are going to run on all the platforms they are, as the case may be? So what should be at stake? What should the Edo people be doing or thinking or working towards?
As I've always said, this is about the Edo people. And they deserve, in my opinion, the very best that can be offered. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that the nearest person to who has helped us articulate these values since the late Samuel Ogbomudia is Godwin Obaseki. You know, many of the infrastructure had deteriorated in Edo before he came in. We had those buildings, those civil services, all had gone. Slowly, meticulously renovated. He's not started new projects. He's actually gone back. You know, that's one of the sources of waste in Nigeria, because you want something new, you discard the old. And as I've told you, he's been able to identify, the ability to identify people who can enable you achieve is also a gift. And he does that. For Godwin Obaseki, it's not a cross-functional. Like, if you come with him, this XYZ he will speak to the person and all that. He's not asking you tribe, tongue, religion, whatever. He gets it done. That's the focus. That's who we are.
But you said when you started that he was a very, well, I like to use the word frugal. You used another word. So if he's a very frugal person, therefore one shouldn't be surprised that he's able to harness the little that he has and achieve results.
Look, speak to those who work with him and all that. He drives them. When COVID shut everybody down, in under 1 week, they were all up. They're all zoomed out in Benin now, as I speak to you. And he monitors these things personally. Work hasn't stopped. He keeps going on and on and on. Look, you remember Chief Ike Clark came out in support of him. Do you know Ike Clark's basis? He was Commissioner for Education in the Midwest region when we were all in Egosa. Because I went to Egosa, so did Godwin. Godwin was 2 years my junior in Egosa. And all that. Chief Ike Clark, those were the days commissioners went to inspect schools. No paraphernalia. They were sneaking. They knew if principals were working. Godwin Obaseki is able to do that today, but this time he's online. So all these teachers that I'm talking about, they're able to monitor whether or not they are going to school. So there's a new verb. Now, I plead with all those who want to find fault. Nobody's perfect. I'm not here to extol anybody as though they were God. All I can say is that give a chance. You never change a winning team, as they say. Give a chance. Government is not just about those elected officials. Government is about me and you. Will you be able to count your own contribution? Okay, how many of them who are talking today have contributed to the COVID relief fund? It doesn't matter how much. Our children are doing that. Put your money where your mouth is before you ask questions.
All right. Thank you very much. We've been speaking to the Udnu Edo Renaissance, the Edo professionals, represented by Mr. George Etomi, founding partner, George Etomi and Partners, and Joyce Daniels, daughter of Edo State. That's very, very apt and policy coach. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
We wish
Thank
you
really.
and Edo people well.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to those of you in channels. You also have a role to play. I like the balanced role you play, because politics is all about enlightening the people we lead. So I want to say thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we'll be back for the home stretch, you don't want to miss this.